Who does Eren love? Is it his hot Asian sister Mikasa, the blonde queen, or something grander? So what's up guys, Foxen here. Attack on Titan chapter 130 sure was interesting. With the official release now out, I decided to take a deep dive into this Titan puzzle. This time focusing on a certain baby. I see around half of you being surprised with the results. Be sure to watch till the end. So definitely can also smash that like, ring the bell for more juicy anime videos, and let's get started. But first off, a huge thank you to Crunchyroll for sponsoring today. I know you love anime too. Right now is the perfect time to binge any anime you've been pushing off. Perfect timing, summer anime season just started. You got SAO Alicization, the final chapter, ReZero Season 2 with some REM, Rent a Girlfriend, Fire Force Season 2, and Oregairu Climax. There is also watching Attack on Titan for the 13th time. By the way, did you enjoy the recent Crunchyroll original Tower of God? After this video, I highly suggest checking out the kick-ass God of High School. It's pretty much Tournament Arc the anime. As a bonus, Mappa Studio is behind this new anime, aka the new studio working on Attack on Titan Season 4. This anime will let you get a taste of what's to come. So go ahead and click my link down below or go to crunchyroll.com/foxen. That'll get you 14 days free of Crunchyroll Premium. You get to binge unlimited anime. You get new episodes released same time like here in Japan. Plus all of this offered in ad-free 1080p HD video. Come on, I want to see Tower of God and God of High School Season 2. Link down below. Kicking this off, the spicy question, why did Historia get pregnant? Historia being pregnant got revealed 2 years ago our time in Attack on Titan chapter 107. The assumption at the time was that Historia was being forced into becoming this baby-making machine. Previously, the Royal Blood family had been routinely pumping out kids, then quietly passing down the founding Titan. Historia now seemed to be following in the footsteps set by her family, really the new nation of Eldia choosing to repeat history. The reason for this was due to Zeke's conditions for siding with Paradise Island, or at least what he claimed at the time. 1. Paradise Island would give the world a demonstration of their colossal titans, a small rumbling if you will, which Hanji and friends were already in the process of setting up. Recall Eren's hometown getting evacuated, which by the way, that place was left a freaking mess. Whoops. 2. Kiyomi and her nation would help the island close the gap between them and the modern world. This included not only bringing the latest weapons, but also establishing a modern military power. 3. The real main meat of this royal course. A royal blood individual on the island would have to take on the Beast Titan power. Naturally by default, this would go to Queen Historia. Historia would then gain that 13-year time limit, so time to start making as many munchkins as possible. Right here, two key important notes. First off, Historia ultimately agreed with this harsh condition. She would inherit the Beast Titan for the sake of her people's continued survival. Very noble. On the other hand, Eren was strictly against this option. At the time, he was not in favor with Zeke's plan due to the destruction in Woodburn, and not to mention Historia and her kids being bred and killed like cows. By the way, briefly, since I've seen this question, I will point out how technically they did have another option, since they did have one other royal blood male around. If they went with this, at the very least the military police wouldn't have had to force any poor females into this. Probably. I could think of at least one Amazon that would be very willing to take Zeke's seed. Surely many more would be rushing to line up from Eren's cult, groupie. The issue afterwards would be the actual moral dilemma, coming from having to force any one of these babies into a Titan, thus limiting their life. On the flip side, this would have been the same issue for Historia's kids, and then anyone that came after them. Putting that thought aside, the real roadblock from this comes from the fact that if Zeke went into the harem route, just making his monkey reign, it would still take 9 months for even a single Zeke Jr. to sprout. Zeke already had less than a year post timeskip. They further lost a month just waiting around not doing much. If Zeke is still around, I'd wager his remaining timeline being around half a year or so, likely less. Although don't forget about Levi. Levi actually did propose a counterplan, just to make some random individual eat the Beast Titan. We'll just figure out the whole royal blood issue later on. This could have actually worked whether Zeke drained his Titan bones or they used the blonde queen. So back to the original question, why did Historia get pregnant? The guys in charge had already decided that as soon as Zeke stepped on the island, they would quickly make Historia into a Titan and pass the powers over. No more waiting. Since Historia got pregnant, they were forced to ultimately wait. Alright, getting into the more heated topic, who is the father? You first saw that random ass guy first shown with Historia, later revealed to be the farmer dude. Is it that guy or is it Eren friggin' Yeager? Which would you rather have as your papa? Tough choice, I know. And yes, the latest chapter stuff is coming up. In Attack on Titan Chapter 108, you had the poor, drunk, unsuspecting military police guys. At the time, they were discussing how Historia had met up with the farmer guy, the one that previously bothered her as a little kid. I don't know how big of a number this is, but on my videos ever since that chapter, I've seen that a good chunk of Attack on Titan fans took this farmer guy as being the father, that was 100% fact, and then called it a day. Yet even in this drunk chatter, the military police guys brought up the concern regarding the farmer boy potentially being a pawn. Even if you discounted that, the timing of her pregnancy was awfully suspicious, almost as if Historia knew what the officials had decided already. That being, getting Zeke's Titan into her as soon as he stepped onto the island. Which means already from the 2 chapters back to back here, there was already doubt established for Historia's partner. Either way, you had that hooded mystery figure, later confirmed to have been Eren Yeager. Anyway, all of this boils down to 2 main candidates, Mr. Farmer or Eren Yeager. There is always some slight possibility of a 3rd random player, but at least to me it feels unlikely. Looking at the farmer, Naoya actually vouched for this guy, claiming that the guy only previously wanted to get the attention of his little crush. He later worked on the queen's orphanage out of guilt. He actually worked there for years in fact. Supposedly he wasn't interested in getting her attention. Putting all of this together really being the reasoning for him not possibly being a pawn. But actually, to me, this smells very much like a potential person to either do the deed or to use as a stand-in to take the blame. What lessens the chance of the farmer guy being the papa is him being pretty much axed out of the Season 3 Uprising anime. Isayama should have known where he was going with Historia's pregnancy at the time. He could have easily advised the anime studio to include this. They didn't. The actual reveal of pregnant Historia in the manga and Historia having the flashback in the anime actually happened very close to each other. To be fair, I quickly will mention a counterpoint to this. The farmer situation did get hinted at in the ending for the Season 3 anime. Even without that, the MAPPA studio could actually bring it back via flashback. Recall Mikasa and her family mark. That mark was actually changed for the anime, yet the manga still used the original family symbol. So just because something got changed in the anime, doesn't mean that a past manga plot point can't be used again. Alright, getting to the more juicy possibility, Eren Yeager, more like Papa Yeager. Actually, with the leaks of the latest chapter, I've seen the most confusion about this. Let's actually jump towards the latest chapter, then circle back. Finally, with the official translations, you actually had Historia asking, "What do you think about me having a child?" In the original Japanese text, you got Historia literally asking, "How about if I make a child?" Notice, neither of these specifically mention Historia having a child with Mr. Freedom. As a bonus, I did want to get a few second opinions. I went ahead and asked a few Japanese friends about this. The general opinion was that even though this girl didn't explicitly mention the other person's name, really just mentioning this question to someone would heavily imply that they're asking to have that person's child. If it wasn't the case, it would just make the whole situation weird. Which means under normal circumstances, Historia did want Eren to practice his hardening. Still, keep in mind this is Attack on Titan. Just given the dire situation, I think there is some likely leeway here. Not to mention, I do suspect Isayama either teasing or trolling the fans. Let me actually ask a different question. Could Eren Yeager realistically even be the father? Wasn't he at Marley for 2 years, 4 years? How long was Eren at Marley? Or forget that, how long was he off the island? I've actually seen a lot of you mention that he's been gone 1 or 2 years, but it actually wasn't that long. Let's go ahead and figure out the timeline, which I did take extra time to check the Japanese manga for this. Looking at Attack on Titan chapter 110, Hanji was having tea time with her best buddy. Right here, Hanji mentioned that the railroad was finished 10 months ago. Keep in mind, you did see Eren and friends actually working on this project. At the time that they were shown working on it, it had been 1 year ago. In Attack on Titan chapter 125, this 10th-month figure actually gets brought up again. It was from Floch's speech. He brought up how Eren shared his master plan 10 months ago. And then a third time. 10 months ago was actually when there was a change of guard assigned to Yelena. The guard happened to be Floch. So just right here, you already have 3 times pointing towards Eren being on Paradise Island 10 months ago. Let's go ahead and reduce this further. Attack on Titan chapter 111. Gabby brought up how it's been 1 month since the attack on Marley. So you could go ahead and subtract a month. 9 months ago, Eren was still on the island. At the 1 year mark ago, Hanji did suggest her idea about visiting the outside world. Chapter 123 is where you actually see the Survey Corps visiting Marley. The notable part here is Sasha confirming this being the first time anyone on the island has gone outside. Next up, Attack on Titan chapter 127. During their little dinner talk, Hanji brought up the fact that they had been outside for a few months. The word "a few" being at least 3. In Attack on Titan chapter 123, you saw Eren leaving after losing all hope. He was done with it, time to take some action. In the later panel, you saw the Survey Corps reading Eren's note. They look like they were wearing the same clothing as before. So for this, let's assume they found out about Eren's departure as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and be generous for this. Assuming Eren and the Survey Corps left for Marley as soon as possible, they were at Marley and the outside world for 3 months minimum. This means from the time that Eren left to the time of the attack on Marley, only 6 months had passed. There is always a possibility that Eren and the Survey Corps parted ways as soon as possible, which could always mean that Hanji and the Survey Corps took an extra month for themselves. Eren wasn't a part of this, which means Eren was either at Marley or at least away from the island for 6 or 9 months. Oh, so what is this? It looks like it doesn't really matter which figure you take. Either of these seems to be putting a nail on Eren being the baby daddy. Do I hear a ship sinking? But it gets better. Moving on to Attack on Titan chapter 112. You had Levi make a remark about his story giving birth, that still being a few months away. At the time, this still was a month after the attack on Marley. Keep in mind, Levi should have been one of the few select individuals who not only would know about Queen Historia's location, but would have the most accurate intel on her status. Taking 3 months until Historia's due, then adding a month since the attack on Marley. This means Historia got pregnant at most 5 to 6 months ago. The Survey Corps, and specifically Eren, should have been off the island during this time, which means putting everything together up until this point would mean Historia got frisky while Eren wasn't even on the island. Was there any unaccounted outside trip? Something yet to be revealed? Possibly. You know the Founding Titan has some special Titan magic, but getting your queen knocked up from across the ocean, probably not a Titan ability. So going back to the latest chapter, it really wouldn't matter how much Historia implied that she wanted to capitalize on Mr. Freedom. The math here just doesn't add up. Given that Historia is due in another 3+ months, Eren just couldn't possibly have physically given her a taste of his Titan. But seriously, let me actually stress out there is one more viable option. It would involve Isayama giving us another timeline figure. That option would have to have the island finishing up the railroad, then them waiting a few months until they actually travel over to Marley. That way Eren could actually do the daunting deed before taking off. All of this, of course, would have the worst implication that the Survey Corps was really waiting as long as possible for Eren to have been the father. The Survey Corps wouldn't have actually traveled to Marley until 6 months before the attack on Marley initiated. Depending on how Isayama wants to do this, he can still give us this timeline figure later on. But hey, for now, Eren and Mikasa shippers, looks like that ship is still afloat. I do want to touch that potential topic, but I'll dive into that in a different video. Besides, even if there is new info that comes out that helps push Eren and Historia having a kid, the entire process should not have been a romantic affair. It could have possibly turned into something, but you know, bigger fish to pancake. Anyway, let's actually talk about the whole romance topic. The idea of Historia and Eren hooking up, or Eren giving Mikasa some love. Last video, I saw some of you guys posting some things, really getting my stance on the whole thing completely wrong, so let me try to clarify. First off, for endgame couples and romance, I originally planned to make a dedicated video topic, and I still might. For my stand, personally I am really not invested in any type of serious romance post-time skip events. Especially not when you get a sense of where things are going for most Attack on Titan characters in this endgame finale. I mean, if you take a step back, it's funny how you got the Colossal Titans at Marley, but the biggest point of discussion goes back to a possible hookup. Naturally, if you've been watching a while, I was mostly right there alongside with anyone that wanted to see Mikasa and Eren potentially having some sparks during the various events in Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3. But then post-time skip events with Attack on Titan Season 4, plus the various things coming from Isayama, it feels like the story is going towards Mikasa being more distant towards Eren. Not only do you have Mikasa, but everyone else already starting off pretty distant from Eren when they meet back up. Hammering this more down, you had the Eren family talk, which included the Ackerman discussion, and most recently the Titan Realm plus Colossal Titan Awakening. Keep in mind you're perfectly fine to pair up, ship, or hope for you ever want to be together. I just ask that you don't attack others for having a different opinion. Right now, two huge endgame pairings would be Mikasa and Eren hooking up, or a repeat of Titan history with the Jaeger plus Royal Blood bonding. Just making my position perfectly clear, I really believe generally I don't care as much as a lot of you feel regarding this, especially not when there's much bigger pressing issues. You got the Colossal Titans released, already arriving at Marley. Eren is being set up as a Thanos figure to take down, and there's only like 5 chapters left for the series. Once upon a time I did want to see the Eren and Mikasa pairing up, but right now if something different happens, I generally would be open to it. Hey, I even brought up the possibility of Mikasa ending up with Armin. I'm completely open to it. Don't get me wrong, I will have my opinions once I see how it plays out. Should Eren and Mikasa become official, I'll be happy. How about Eren and Historia? Sure, I could live with it, possibly my second choice. But more important is how the situation plays out. Hopefully this makes my stance 100% tight and crystal clear. Even if your endgame couple doesn't happen, hopefully the series won't be ruined for you. I mean, look at people who ship Levi and Eren. You know without me telling you how that's gonna end up. So definitely give Crunchyroll a shot. I have been using them since 2015, still am. Tap my link down below so you can start binging awesome anime. Do let me know which top 3 anime you're watching this summer. I will be reading. Special heart if you do share. By the way, bonus tidbit, keep in mind that the Attack on Titan manga comes out monthly on the 9th. Anything that comes out before this date are considered leaks, which can have questionable translations. This does include the full chapter fan translation. I also heard about this chapter that there were some fake leaks or troll links, but in general before this chapter I haven't seen anything that I noticed being outright wrong. Going forward, I think I will put a disclaimer on my future reviews regarding chapter leaks. Anyway, bonus question for hardcore fans. Which is your endgame Attack on Titan couple? Do you actually see it happening? Go ahead and watch my new SAO opening breakdown. SAO and ReZero are back weekly, and I'll see you guys later.